Okay, my name's Samantha, or Sam. I go to Holland Hall. I grew up in a kind of like Latino, African-American neighborhood, and so everybody knew everybody. And then like if I was with my other side of the family, we all grew up in a small town, so all the kids were raised together. We adopted a lot of kids, so we've had like a lot of different cultures go in and out of our family. And right now I'm at like a majority white school, so it's kind of different from what I know.
Okay, I'm Emilia. I go to Booker T, and I'm Puerto Rican and Vietnamese. I don't know my Vietnamese side as much as I know my Puerto Rican side, but I feel like with that, just growing up here in Tulsa, it has been more diverse. It's not just I'm limited to knowing, like, yes, I'm Latina and like being around those people, but also being around Black people, white people, Asian people, Native American people, everyone.
I'm Aameera. I go to Union High School, and I'm from originally Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, where it's multicultural. I've been to schools that have a lot of Blacks, whites, and mostly Mexicans. I did do Girl Scouts for a while, so that was a nice experience. My childhood. I travel a little bit. I've been to Mexico, I've been to the Bahamas, and I plan on going other places and experiencing other cultures as well.
I'm Oliver. I go to Booker T. My family is originally from South Africa. I was born there, and then I moved here when I was young. And when I first moved here, my mom and grandma had me in a private school, like a private preschool. And after my first year, my dad came up to me and my mom, and he was like, I don't think he's meeting anyone new or anyone that's different from him. And so after that, I was put into public school, and I got to meet a lot more different people than I was at my private school. And ever since then, it's kind of been a main thing, kind of after that initial push from my dad to remind me that meeting people different from me is critical for not only who I am, but kind of how I grow as a person.
I feel like it's an important topic because in today's society, and even before today's society, a lot of things are like trends, and a lot of people like to follow trends. And I feel like people live based on how they think they should live instead of like being open-minded and living how they feel like they should live in their own way, and just like following the standards of society itself and the government, or of like other people, especially on social media. So I feel like that's good.
I remember when we were first on the Zoom to talk about the topic, and I think that we were trying to think about things that affected us on day-to-day basis. And I think that something that I had brought up is that I feel like a lot of people I know, and me myself, has dealt with negative body image, or just like how you say, like living your life on how you think you're supposed to live, because that's how society portrays is accepted for you to live. So just opening up about that and figuring out that that's a common issue that teens have, I think that's went a lot with how we prepared it.
Okay, nowadays, it's like you're supposed to live this type of way, or people are kind of trying to tell you how to live. And as well as like body image, it plays a really big role in teenagers' mental health nowadays. So I think that's like a really big part of just how people can kind of shift.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think definitely societal expectations and standards has been something, that's always kind of been talked about, because it's always shifting and the way that we live is always changing. But I think it's important to kind of look back at it and think, well, how does it affect me? How do I change the way that I want to live because the people around me have changed the way they want to live, or they want to change me into the way that they want to live? And I think that addressing something like that it's very important because it's fundamental to our own individual identities, which just affects us kind of as a whole, as a people. And I think that's why it's so important, because when we have those caps that we try and put on top of people, you never really get to see what could have been. So. I think kind of a trend, and I saw it really through a friend of mine kind of in middle school, and this rise of almost kind of like a counter to the like body positivity movement. And it was kind of this rise in like masculine circles of like, oh, you know, body positivity is bad, you should just get jacked and it doesn't matter, like this is the ideal body. And I had a friend who kind of really fell into that, and he like wanted to lose like a lot of weight. And so like over one summer, he would eat essentially like nothing. Like one time I like was talking to him and he was like, I had like half a chicken sandwich today and that's all I'm gonna eat because I can't eat more because I need to stay on the pace I'm on. People who like he kind of personally knew like never really like talked about his weight or commented on it, but like through social media and like just essentially like in his own like self-isolation in a weird way, he led himself down that road. And that was really like shocking to me and like very awakening to see like how much people really hold the values that they hold based on what they can see in social media. And kind of once they get into it, like obviously on social media, once you start liking stuff and getting into it, that's all it shows you, and be kind of developing your own narrative and making your own echo chamber and seeing how much effect that really could have on someone was something really big for me.
Right.
Okay, well, since you brought up the like working out, has that affected you personally? Like seeing your friend like that, how did you feel towards how he was treating himself in his diet changes? And did you ever fall into that circle?
Yeah, I mean, I really gotta say, I'm really guilty about that, because I remember kind of being, it was like about 7th grade at the time. And I remember him like kind of talking to me about it. And in a way at the time, I almost didn't see it as negative, because he would show me these videos of people and, you know, they're like crazy athletic and they look super good. And in a weird way, I was kind of like, wow, he's so devoted to this. Like that's kind of cool in like a distorted way. And, you know, I think back to that and I feel like so guilty about it, because in a way, like I also entered into that echo chamber and kind of that idea of the narrative that I was being fed. And kind of like only later did I kind of like wake up and kind of see it's like how insane it really was, and kind of how when all your sources and everything you're consuming kind of feeds back into it, the way it really does change the way you're thinking, because you don't see outside of it.
Right. And I think I noticed with very common, I think how it's impacted myself and people around me is like when you see people that are like fitness influencers and people that are influencing the like healthy lifestyle, it like pushes you to think, am I living my life healthy? And it almost like, yes, sometimes it does have, and usually it has the intent of making you like, you know, glorifying the healthy lifestyle and that they're doing well for themselves. But like what I've noticed it does a lot for people around me and myself is that it makes me feel guilty for the lifestyle I'm living. And also like, I don't look like them. And if this is what healthy looks like, then what am I? And then pushing to be, this is healthy. This is what they're doing, when we're not the same person and there's stuff that I'm not seeing that they're doing. And I think that just like how you said, it really impacts how you live your life on the day to day.
I would definitely kind of ask about like, I think it's a very important kind of topic of discussion of like what you said about like, they're doing things that I'm not seeing. Mm-hmm. I think that's like a very key thing about social media, is comparing your inside to other people's outside is kind of what people say.
Wow.
And I think it's important for us to kind of think of like, what are the things that social media influencers do that we're not aware of or that we kind of don't think about
Right.
in a weird way, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. For me, I'd say it probably most has to do with my hair, since I like most of the hairstyles that are like more accepted as like natural hairstyles are like if you have really long curly hair. Like on TikTok, I'll see a lot of people with long curly hair do their natural hair. And then all of the other people who have like 4C, it's always you have braids, box braids, or everybody has this certain type of box braid style. And so with the school I go to, it's like I get so many questions on both, but mostly on my hair because they don't understand how it's like thick and how it's just the shrinkage and how it does that on its own. So I kind of try to avoid getting asked those questions, which I feel like has led me down kind of like everybody else, just having the same hairstyle or liking the same hairstyle since yours is different than what's normal.
Right. And I think since social media does do that and continues to feed into like this is pretty, this hairstyle is cute for this person. It kind of makes you stop thinking that what you're doing, like what made you and your sense of self was beautiful in the first place. And it's like a really distorted view, and you're like I've noticed like what's beautiful right now, or what a lot of people consider beautiful, is because the societal like trends and standards are telling us that's what's beautiful, and it's been constantly punched into our heads that this is what is accepted and this is what's liked. So it's kind of hard to go back and step back from that and say that I think this looks good too, because we're like everywhere around us, we're constantly consuming that.
How long have you experienced that, like the hair situation?
Well, the school I go to, I went to Union first, and my brother went to the school I go to for football. So I was kind of put into that. And I was like the second Black person or Black girl that they had in that grade. So it was like, every time I would change my hair, they kind of like asked a lot of questions. Like if I had long box braids, they're like, how did your hair grow overnight? Or like when I wear a poof on the top of my head, the question I will never forget is someone asking, how did you get your hair like that? And I was like, what's that? And they're like that. And I was like, you have to specify, because this is what my hair normally is. So that kind of just like shifted why I didn't want to wear my natural hair. So.
Wow.
I feel like a lot of people don't understand, like us people with like 4C natural hair, like questions like, because they wash their like hair every day, and we say, well, we don't wash our hair every day, and they like judge us for that, but like our hair is different. And then like asking like, how did our hair grow overnight? Like, you don't wear extensions either. It's fake, but thank you, but no thank you. But I feel like at the same time, like if you're really curious about something, there's like certain ways to go about it and ask, instead of like asking like, how did your hair grow overnight? And then like you wearing your hair like in a bun or whatever, and then asking like, how did you get your hair like that? Like, I don't know, to me it's just like ignorant.
Yeah.
And then I hate that us like girls like us have to experience that, and that we think that we should change our hair because of what people say about it, and that we need to fit in order for, like, we want it to stop, so we do something about it. Like wigs, like everybody almost wears wigs now, which like it's normal, but also it's not, because a lot of girls our age or older, they don't like to express their natural hair because of situations like that. And I just feel like it's weird. But
Yeah.
I feel you.
All right. Okay. I think with image and everything, I think the main thing that a lot of people forget about is genetics. because genetics play a big part in like being able to have abs, or like some people don't even have to work for it. It's just that's kind of how they're built, or building muscle faster. I think a lot of people need to realize that you might not have that type of genetics, but you don't really have to. But I think keeping the good part would be like, I see a lot of good in just being able to try new things, like even with hairstyles. Like I see a lot of the new hairstyles I try online, or like types of outfits, or like clothing, or like just getting myself to step out of my comfort zone.
I think another thing that I would say is kind of when social media kind of like was first coming around in very early stages, it was this very like almost personal thing of it's just an individual kind of talking about their life, and you would kind of read that and think, oh, you know, that's cool. That's a person who's doing something new that I think is interesting. And kind of as time goes on, now we see, you know, like an influencer say something and it holds much more sway with us. And I think a big thing would be kind of for us to be able to step back and look at it more of the individual still, kind of again, just a person expressing themselves, saying that I tried out this new hairstyle, I thought it was cute, it looked good, or this person being like, you know, I've been on this workout journey, it's helped change my life, and kind of not looking at it from this idea of, oh, this person like knows like everything and has sway and like is like a voice of everyone and I should take it to heart. Because, you know, I think of like if someone approached you on the street and like told you something, and then like you took it like very deeply to heart and like altered the way you look, it'd be much more different, if that makes any sense. And I think kind of taking it back to this idea of just individual people expressing themselves online and not as some people holding like massive sway, I think that'd be another good way for us to approach it so that we can keep the fun individualism of social media without the harmful effects of like certain people like being able to say, these shoes are super cute right now, you should go buy them and spend $120 on them. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I think that personally, I don't own any social media actually. Like I have Pinterest, that's about it. But I think that it's really hard to it's really hard. I can see from our perspective that it's kind of hard not to be on social media because you get a sense of FOMO since all of it's Gen Z. Gen Z's on social media. I guess Gen Alpha too. Oh my goodness, Gen Alpha too now. And it's getting younger and younger as we grow in this technology age. And it's kind of like if you're not on social media, you're missing life. You don't know what's going on and you don't understand what people are referencing. But clearly, even though I don't have social media, I've still been affected by the outputs and what people put out there. And I guess I'm around friends every day that also do have social media. But I think that I feel like it's kind of hard to figure out one way that we can solve how much, just figuring out how to properly use it and focus on the benefits more. Because when you think about the benefits, you see, just like how we talked about the healthy lifestyle and motivation of people putting maybe it's empowering. Yeah, so I think it's our mindset shift. It's really hard to change your mindset, but people putting a picture of themselves at the gym or something, that can either be negative and you're comparing yourself to it, which it's kind of hard sometimes not to, or it can be empowering, oh, that person's doing this, but that doesn't take away from anything that I can do or I have achieved in life. So I honestly, I want to say, I don't know how you can reach all the young people our age and tell them this is not real. These are people at their best and probably edited as well. But I almost want to say a class, but people don't really pay, like some people don't pay attention to that. They're on their phones on social media, not paying attention. So it's kind of hard to figure out that solution, but maybe, I don't know.
This girl, her name is Paige. She is literally a carbon copy of Ariana Grande. And there's a lot of people like that outside of social or inside social media that follow celebrities. And it's weird to me because all celebrities, famous people, they get bashed themselves. So it's like you're changing yourself to be a certain way because you feel like you're benefiting from that. But in reality, those people are going through things too because they're human beings as well. And like a lot of people on social media, they just, I don't know, it's odd. Like I'm trying to see if like there's benefits from social media. There is, but it's hard to like find them because people like try to fit in to be someone they're not, even though that person in the back, they're not doing well themselves. And that's just my take on it.
Yeah, it's like the positives have kind of been like overtaken by the negatives. And it's just like a lot of these people, the things you see, they're probably at their worst, but making it seem like they're at their best. And it's really hard to be able to tell, but that's the whole point of social media. So you can think that I'm over here living my best life and I'm really like over here battling myself and my mind and everything, but then everybody else wants to be like you. Just like the girl Paige, like she's had a lot of surgeries and like done stuff to her body, and it's like Ariana Grande has like become smaller, and I've seen that too. Like a lot of people have said that, and Paige has also done the same thing.
And Paige is getting backlash herself, so it's not like she's benefiting from trying to be like Ariana Grande. She's getting all the hate too.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
why would you want to do that to yourself?
Right.
Yeah.
And she did that from a very young age.
I mean, I think like a big thing about social media is kind of the fact of the way that it like functions is, if we look at our school, I mean, I'm sure we can all relate to seeing someone at school that we felt envious of, people at our school like dressing in certain ways. And then like those people, oftentimes kind of the people at school that we envy, we see on social media. And then obviously like you just see all of that on social media, and it's kind of like your school, but it has hundreds of millions, upwards of billions of people, and kind of having this huge swath of people. And now it's just not like that, you know, like group of guys or girls that you see and think, oh, I want to be like them. Now it's like you go home and all you consume and all you can see is people that you want to be like, and kind of how it's always kind of been a case of people wanting and looking up to other people and thinking, oh, I wish I could be like them. But now it's like coming with us. It's not just in school. It's like in everything that we look at. It's in a movie, it's in, you know, you're just scrolling and then you get reminded of it again. And it's kind of this never ending push of where once it was kind of just at school, now it's in home. And I think that's kind of what's like really taking root, is that this envy that we have that's always kind of been there is now able to enter in our lives in a much more like personal way, if that makes sense.
I feel like I think what social media does for people is, especially since COVID happened too, we all thirst for the love and validation. So social media being like validation to people, that can become unhealthy kind of fast. And it's also sad to see that when like, let's talk about, like, for example, dieting culture, and it's pushed by the trends going on of like, let's talk about the, you know, the how you're talking about, you have to have like a six-pack, and you have to be like really built, and also for women like hourglass body, and you have to have that. I think that people saying that and you becoming at some point affected by it and trying to like live your life to where, oh, I'm going to achieve this, and then the feedback from people around you accepting you more and like kind of feeding into it almost, because they're also affected by that societal standard or beauty standard, saying that's beautiful, and them saying, oh, you look better. That feeds a lot into it as well, because just because they're affected by it too, that's, yeah.
As far as Greenwood, I think the people that were here, it was from different backgrounds, and they all came so they could be able to like rise up together and do something together. So I felt like those people that had nowhere else to go, they felt like they belonged here. And when that was taken away, it was like, where do I belong now? And so it's being like sold back to us like, oh, maybe changing your hair will make you feel like you belong. Maybe changing your clothes will make you belong. Or maybe changing your body will make you belong. And so it's like we're always trying to find a sense of belonging, but it's really just the fact that our culture is being taken and shifted by society.
No, I think that there's with social media, especially like with COVID, kind of like what you were saying, in spots of social isolation where like one-on-one interaction with people goes away and your only kind of real grasp of what's going on is social media, you can kind of fall into this idea of like social media kind of almost forming the culture, when again in reality you have your own individual culture, your neighborhood has its culture, your school has its culture, but it gets lost because everyone becomes separated from it. Everyone kind of turns into this individual who's connected through social media to other individuals, but just not on a one-on-one basis. It's people just broadcasting out, and like rarely it's close-knit, it's not bound, it's not resilient. When again, as you compare it back to like a school or a neighborhood community, that people know each other well and they can speak, and then there's communication about things, and the culture is not just one person explaining and speaking, but it's a whole group of people who come together and form their own opinion and their own way of life. And again, I feel like that really got lost, especially through COVID and kind of just through the rise of social media.
Right. I think it's because we probably call it dieting culture and like having those little like subgroups of everything, because I think it probably stem from social media, like you said. Because when you look for that type of stuff on social media, or like when you see someone, a social media influencer, it's almost like that's what the thing that they're sharing with the world is their thing, and that's their subgroup that they're in, so they make it their whole life. And we follow people that are in all different subgroups and expect to be the great as far they are as they are, that make it their whole life. But like, how are we supposed to, that's not well-rounded, and we're trying to be well-rounded and be to level 10 on all of these things when they're only level 10 on the thing they're showing you. And I think that's where it comes from, because there's a lot of people in that group that agree that that's what they want to do and that's what they're looking for, and that they made it into a culture and a community.
And that's where a lot of following trends come from too.
Right.
Like, I feel like that's all that it is. It's not really culture. It's just people following people and then them following. Like, it's a cycle of trends that people think that their life is going to drastically change by following it. And yeah.
Yeah, like just imagine if we were alive when like Greenwood was originally built. Like you have no phones, no nothing, probably only like newspapers, but you would walk down the street and just be able to talk to people openly. Mm-hmm. Now we can't even really talk to people openly because it's like, why are you talking to me? Like what are you doing? Right. But like back then it was, you were able to just speak and you were able to meet new people like that. Mm-hmm. And online it's like you just meet new people by, I saw you in this person's post and like I wanted to follow you like that. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. It's literally face to face, and then you'd be able to build a stronger connection.
Do that, it seems like in like a bad way, it seems like you're trying to follow that person. Yeah. And then you get like judged on that. Mm-hmm. And you're like, you're a follower. So I agree, like interacting face to face is like way different from interacting on social media, because then at that point it's like, oh, you're a fan or whatever. Yeah. Right. And that's the sad thing too, because children on social media younger than us, I feel like that's how they're gonna live their life, by following people on social media and connecting that way, instead of actually like going outside and spending time with friends outside of social media. So I feel like that all like spans from that. And
I feel like we all say this, but it's also like you can't stay off of it too, because it's like,
it's addicting,
right? And that's what our life's circle around almost like that's what everybody's talking about.
Especially being isolated for like 3-4 years due to COVID.
Right.
It's just like that kind of made it normal for us, and it's just like it's kind of hard to separate from what you're used to, because it's just like, I mean, this is all I had at this point. And so like we've been trying to change that for our generation, just like be more interactive, but at the end of the day it's still what we go back home to.
Right. And then when social media became more, when it became more like, if this community doesn't like this community, and people attacking each other on social media in that way, and it becoming an easier way, like social media cultivating for that to happen, it allows people to do it more easier, more accessible, and that almost like alters your beliefs in a way too, because if you consider yourself in that community on social media, you're gonna stop liking what's going on over here. And I think that that's kind of when it became something really unhealthy, as in like, you see social media, it's unspoken about, people don't talk about it, but like it's a competition. It's a competition. You have to be better than this person. And that's what makes you cool. If you go to if you go to school like, and you don't care about your appearance and stuff like that, people aren't going to talk about you. But if you go on social media and you don't care about your appearance, then like it's, you know,
it's like communal beef. Like it's just, you're always competing against somebody, even when you don't know it. Just like Drake and Kendrick probably didn't know that there was TikTok pages dedicated to both sides. And it was like, you follow this person, that means you're on this side. If you follow this person, that means you're on this side. Right. And so which one you followed, you were on that side of TikTok. And then they like would compare the amount of people followed each one. And it's just like, these people don't know you. And you have like, one of them has like 600,000 followers and one has like 1 million. And like, they'll never know that unless they actually find it.
Right.
I think it kind of relates to the weird idea of like, social media makes, I guess, like interacting very easy, because you can easily find people who are exactly like you and have the same stuff as you and get along with like the same ideas as you. And that makes things like easy. It makes your life be like, oh, you know, I don't have to go like looking around for people who I know have the same interests as me, when I can just like, you know, go online and there's people who are similar to me. And it's like, that's kind of very easy. It's very easy to go into that and then stay into it, because you know, if you know you have kind of this like a safe place online where you know you're not going to have to kind of explore other people and like the things that they're interested in, it's like you can just stay in the group that you want. As compared to, like if you're at school, you're probably not going to find someone who like perfectly matches you and likes everything exactly the way you like it. But that's kind of the reason you go to school and meet new people, is so that you can see all these new things that people like, what people don't like, and the way that it'll change you, the way that you'll change them. And I think that's like super important. But again, when you're on social media, it's very easy to just kind of curate what you see into what you like, and to have things not differ from what you want to see. And again, it creates, like you were saying, kind of like the dogmatism of like, people like arguing on the internet, and it's like you've never met these people before in your life.
Yeah.
Arguing over like one hyper specific niche topic. And it's like, you never know that if you met them on the sidewalk, you could have been really good friends and gotten along, and you like all these other things together. Like you both really like bowling and all this other stuff, but then randomly like you're beefing over like a rapper on TikTok in the comment section at like 2:00 in the morning for like no real reason. And it's obviously like when you frame it like that, it sounds crazy. But again, it's a lot of times you don't think about it that way. You're kind of like, this is just me and my niche, and I'm having like fun. It's like, this is who I get to be with. And then again, it's just, it takes this whole new turn on the way that we interact and see people.
And I think it's so like normalized, and like people make it, you have to be on social media so much that like in school, just like looking around, when someone is not talking to their friends or like walking alone, if they're walking alone, it's not often I see them like their phone put away, they're just walking straight forward. It's always like you see them walking in the halls on their phone, and that's normalized. Like no one's gonna judge you for that, you're on your phone. But it's like, that's how normal it is that you have to be on your phone. It's a safety mechanism you use because you know you're not gonna be judged for being on.
And because of that, they don't put in the effort to get to know people face to face.
Yeah.
Because social media is the easy way in. So I think they don't put in the effort.
It's hard to put in that effort.
Yeah, right? Some people are scared to put in the effort because people are judgmental.
I think as far as me, since I go to like a predominantly white school, I think me, like my background is way different from what they know. Like what they know is money, everything being given to them. And so it's like that's something that draws like a big wall between us, especially trying to even communicate with them. They don't try to understand any other point except for what they know. And so like with culture, I feel like the culture of our school, we kind of know like you're here together, you're here to like help each other learn, help each other be better as people. And we can do that while at school. But then still with the same people, you're still excluded because you don't have this amount of money, your parents don't do this as a job or profession or something like that. And that's kind of how it's impacted me in my life. And that's kind of like, I'm normally by myself, and I also get, like a lot of people say stuff about that too, but then it's like, if I'm trying to talk to y'all, it's like, you don't understand what I'm saying or you're not trying to.
No, I definitely think kind of division falls into the convenience of everything. It's very easy. There's a quote, I forget who it's by, but it's like, it's easy to hate and it's hard to love. It's very easy for people to divide themselves from one another and be like, that person, I don't get along with that person very well. It's way easier if I just never talk to them and I don't interact with them. It's way easier in my life. And obviously that's not productive, and it leads to hatred and it leads to separation. And I think kind of tying it back into social media, that feeds into this convenience idea. You know, it's like you can stay in the places that you want. And you don't have to interact with other people. I mean, we can see like rises in like white supremacy movements and anti-Semitism and kind of all these like very intense movements that like rise on the internet, because it's like if you're in a sphere where that's all you hear and that's kind of all you really like want to hear, it becomes really ingrained in you. You have no one like talking to you about like, hey, you know, like that's wrong. You have no one like counter talking to you. You have no other points being brought up to you in your life, because you're the one who's curating it and it's being curated for you. You're just hearing what you want to hear, what's easy for you to hear, what you like to hear. And again, kind of, if we take that away from social media, those echo chambers are so much harder to build. If you're like walking around in school, I mean, like take Booker T, for example, it's very hard to turn yourself and like radicalize yourself into like a neo-Nazi at like Booker T, Washington, because it's like very integrated, stresses about unity and like the story of Greenwood Rising and kind of getting to see all these different people and stories and the value of acceptance and how it's allowed so many people to flourish and all the beauty that comes out of it. It makes people want to be more accepting. It kind of makes acceptance something that they value. But again, if you're just online and you're not like talking to different people, it's super easy to just radicalize yourself and keep yourself where you want to be and not move.
I agree with you. I think I agree with what you were saying. It sounded like you were saying a lot of that convenience like limits your own self and what you're going to experience in life and the people you're going to hear from. I think that it's I think there's also, with social media and with people limiting themselves and like only like being exposed to not even social media but media in general, and how maybe a movie depicts a person of a different ethnicity or race or background from them. I think you limiting yourself in convenience and just creating a you said dome chamber. I think that like
the echo chamber.
Echo chamber. I feel like that describes it perfectly. Just you're not you're choosing what to understand and what not to understand, and you don't even realize that there's so much beyond you and there's so much that you can continue to learn. And I think that when we consume media, a lot of people that I feel like I've noticed, which is kind of sad because it's some people that really you surround yourself with every day. They think that they understand everything going on, but then you realize, and you think that for a little bit, but then you realize that they're limiting themselves as well. Even when they agree with you, if they don't push and ask questions further beyond what they see in the media, like if someone tells me, you're gonna be rich tomorrow if you like and subscribe to my channel, and I do it and I don't ask any questions and I think I'm gonna be rich, like that's limiting myself. I just wasted my own time by just believing that and just continuing to fall and feed into that cycle, which continues to make it okay for people to like feed off of that. And the people,
brainwashing.
right? It's brainwashing, right?